Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. The time is now 6:00 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first thing on the agenda is roll call.
Mayor Scott Nickel.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Frank Gerton.
Present.
Councilmember Hamilton Boone.
Here.
Councilmember Shauna Hume.
Here.
Councilmember Adam Dyer.
Here.
Okay. Next item is excusal of council members. We're all here, so we can skip on to additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda, if any. Does anyone on council have any changes or any deletions? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 1, which is discussion of e-bikes. This is for consideration of residents' concerns and direction to staff. I'll turn it over to City Manager Coffey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, residents here watching at home. In April, Councilmember Boone requested a agenda item about e-bikes that Police Chief Garcia made a presentation, which is attached. At that meeting, there was a consensus to hold a workshop to further discuss the issue and hear from the public, and that's what we're here tonight. Chief Butler, Deputy Chief Garcia is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, does anyone on staff have any sort of presentation at all? Or just discussion?
We can have Chief Butler or Deputy Chief Garcia go through that presentation from April again, if you like.
Well, I don't know if it needs to be a presentation so much. Could one of you guys come up to the... No, I just want to ask a couple of questions for my own edification. So, I mean, we all know that e-bikes are becoming super popular now. I see them all over the place now. I don't expect that to subside. I know that there's, state statute that governs e-bikes. I don't believe we have anything on the books that provides further restrictions on e-bikes, do we? Or do we? I didn't think so. So in terms of the number of complaints that you've received, has there been a significant number? Any? Just trying to get a feel for if this is a problem.
I mean, we would occasionally get complaints from citizens that, say they almost struck a vehicle or a pedestrian or an e-bike or scooters, and they're going really fast on the sidewalk, things of that nature. So we've had some complaints, both telephone and through an email.
Okay.
But I think that also includes the moped type,
Correct.
motorized,
Motor scooters.
right? Not just the
sidewalks.
e-bikes, electronic bikes.
Okay. Yeah, that's my own question there is just, how much is this really a problem, and to what extent is the problem? And is it mostly related to young people on e-bikes? Is it a segment of the population that's mostly the concern?
So we've had, I checked over the last 13 months or so, we've had 10 accidents involving pedestrians or bicyclists. 2 have been, one has been a scooter type, and one has been like a skateboard type of thing, one of those type of things. And a couple of pedestrians, and then rest just regular bicyclists.
Okay, so no e-bikes, specifically e-bikes.
There was one e-bike, one scooter type e-bike
Okay.
type of thing, and then one skateboard type of thing.
All right.
And the primary 2 areas would be up by the Publix shopping area, and then Banana River and South Dot. Those are the 2 primary danger areas for pedestrians and bicyclists and scooters, but from what we've seen.
All right. Councilmember Boone, you kind of brought this to our attention, and so that's, we're here tonight to discuss it, so
Sure.
I'll let you lead off and
All
express your concerns or ideas.
Sure, thank you very much. I had three citizens email me about close calls on the sidewalks. Most of them, well, in fact, all of them were flying past a jogger or a walker. Two of the people were walking, one was jogging, no warning, and just brushing right next to him and going at a fairly high rate of speed. Now, I think we all can remember, if, you know, in any type of sport or whatever, you're not expecting somebody to come over and bump into you or whatever. It's, if you're not prepared for it, it can be a real jolt to you. I have read the statutes, and I have Mr. Jaffe's email here too that talks about a public education campaign. I wasn't really aware until it really just set in that anyone under the age of 16 may not ride or operate one of these e-bikes. So, and I believe I've seen, you know, in my estimation, just the ones a few that I've seen, they're kids that are under the age of 16. Some have helmets, some don't. Not trying to put new things on the book, new statutes on the book, but for the safety of the people on the sidewalks, including the kids. I mean, nobody wants to get that phone call. I had worked in an emergency room for 3 years in Atlanta, a huge hospital, 3,600 beds. Homes is 600 beds. It has one emergency department. We had 4 24-hour emergency departments. And there's nothing worse than parents coming in to a seriously injured child or a child that's deceased. So I know being a kid, there's nothing like, you know, learning, you know, having new things to play with and scooting around the town. But those three incidents told, I thought, and they asked me to bring it forward, that something needs to be done so that people can safely be on sidewalks. And so that's why I asked for the workshop. And I noted in section 2065 for bicycle regulations, which e-bikes are supposed to follow. You're supposed to yield the right-of-way to any pedestrian, and you're supposed to give an audible signal before overtaking or passing such pedestrian. All three of these incidences that none of this happened. So, and in one of them, after they got past them, there was a child being pulled on a skateboard, and the young lady that was on the bike realized she was at the corner and slammed on the brakes. The kid bit the dust on the sidewalk, got up from it, but from what I understand, he was scraped up pretty good. So that's why I brought this forward. I don't want something horrible to happen to kids. Now, if you're under 16 on bicycles, you have to have a helmet on. And as I said, for the e-bikes, you have to be 16 to even ride or operate. I have a video, and I absolutely cannot tell the age of the kids, but by the size of them and listening to them talk, I just guessing that they're below 16, bragging about, look, we're hitting almost 30. And I'm, so to me, this scenario is a setup for a really tragic event down the road. I agree with Mr. Jaffe about an educational type program. I know Brevard County is real good about teaming up with towns and citizens to do bicycle rodeos, but we could also do bicycle rodeos and include e-bikes as well. I think it's the responsibility sits with the parents to give their kids the proper instruction, and especially not buy them something they're not supposed to be on. So, can you run that video? This is on my street. I was out working on my truck. So you see that, and you think of, and we all remember doing crazy stuff, right? But if somebody's backing out of the driveway, not expecting kids, they're a nice slender view coming down the road when you're backing out. It's not a broad view, or them losing control. And I've seen kids out here on the street, getting across the street where there's not a crosswalk, just different things. But I'd like to see something that will negate the behavior on the bikes by the kids that don't understand how they're supposed to ride a bike. I rode mountain bikes for years till I couldn't anymore. And one of the things that you always did is you holler out to your right or to your left to let them know that you're coming up behind them so you don't scare them. And also they usually slide over for you. So just some basic stuff needs to be done, but especially I think the parents need to take some responsibility and learn what the rules really are and enforce it.
Okay. Is that, John, is that something we can get into Harbor highlights? Kind of a refresher of the rules. Doesn't have to be exhaustive, but the main points of the statute and the limitations.
The part also about yielding to pedestrians and giving an audible sign when you're overtaking them. But I put together 3 different bicycle rodeos where we set it up in a large parking lot. Well, it was Wusthof Hospital. And we set up fake car doors, stop signs, etc., and taught kids what you look for, how you react, etc., and provided a helmet for being there. We also ID'd their bikes for them with the last 4 of their socials. And if we put together an event like that, we can also take a swab for DNA. And they can actually register kids in a data bank that allows tracking if that, God forbid, ever happened. But it was always been well received. I wrote a couple of grants and got the helmets. So I think that's a possibility as well.
Frank?
Ham, I'm excited. You're excited. There's no doubt about that. We had Mr. Horschel in here for our last meeting. Talked about one of his close people who got killed. I think where you're going is where we need to go. We have a problem because, number one, we don't have sidewalks throughout our whole community. That's a beginning there. And we don't have streets that are all marked off. That's another beginning there. We have Gleason Park that's got 4 or 5 foot, walking there. And we have bikes going through there. We have dogs and joggers and everything else. We do have a disorganized city as far as transportation is concerned. The only thing we've been built for in this city is strictly the automobile. So it's gonna take a lot of input. I think we're on the right schedule. I think we need to get out there and maybe have, in the fall with Ocean Breeze, you gotta do with the kids, and then maybe in the spring too, again, hit it again. And meantime, we can get parents and everything like that. But I've been confronted because, I live right off South Patrick Drive. And sometimes when I walk across the Gleason Park, I'm almost run over, somebody coming up real quick, that type of thing. See, when you're walking on a sidewalk and you're moving on a sidewalk, you have to watch out because the bike itself will not beep you all the time. I think we're on the right move. I would love to support you on this. I think we need to go ahead and go into the community, educate the community, and I also think that we need to look at our whole city because we have problems with golf carts in our community. We have problems with streets that don't have sidewalks, and the way people have to move, kids have to move, they move in the street. So we have those issues too, where kids are in the street walking or jogging, no less being on a bike. Where if they're on a bike, they're going to be in the street. There's no doubt about that. So we need to try to alleviate this situation and make it as best possible we can. We have a problem. We need to just start working on it.
I'm not sure what you're trying to edit.
Oh, who's that?
That's you.
That's not me.
That's Siri telling you what to do.
I can't believe you, Siri.
Siri's telling him what to say.
Oh, Siri just heard me too. Mind your own business. All right, Councilmember Hume.
I just want to clarify that I believe you may have misspoke or I misheard Councilmember Boone. There is no minimum rider age for e-bikes. And that's on here, right here, Ham.
Oh, right.
E-bike classifications right
No,
here.
right here on this page where it says e-bikes are defined under Florida state
So
law.
how do you guys interpret that law? The statute says.
Well, it's
20
right
miles
here.
per hour, right?
Used to be a law.
It's,
Frank, you want, Ralph?
There used to be a law that banned children under 16 years of age to ride the e-bikes, but it looks like as of 2023, they rescinded it, and there is no age requirement. You have to have a helmet if you're 16 and under. But as
So
far as
what's
riding
printed
it,
here
there's
is
no
not
age
right
restriction. What's that?
because it's printed right here on the page prior to the one you were looking at, Shauna. The last sentence of the first paragraph.
Yeah, a person under the age of 16 may not operate or ride upon a motorized bicycle. That's what it says
So
in
it
here.
says motorized, yeah.
But they call, up at the top, it says human power in every motorized bicycle propelled by combination of human and power and electric helper motor. So that's, because it's e-bike stuff.
Well, if the state rescinded it, they rescinded it. So, yeah, maybe we need clarification on that just to make sure that we have the most up-to-date regulations, but it sounds like if they rescinded it,
That's incorrect there.
It is?
Yeah,
So
because
they did
as of
rescind it?
2023, yeah.
Okay,
And again, prior to that, there was a restriction, age requirement.
okay.
But as far as the 16 years of age and under, they still have to wear a helmet.
Right. Thank you.
And I'd like to further comment that in my mind, you can't legislate common sense. I believe that the legislative rules that are already in place, the Florida state statutes, are good enough guidelines for us now. I agree with the Indian Harbor Beach resident Derek Jaffe in his email that it's already codified, it's already a rule. I do believe parents need to step up to the plate. Ultimately, they need to guide their children, but we all were kids once and did whatever at times. As a driver, I think we have to be really, really careful out there because there are people on those one-wheeled things and scooters going by. As a walker in the park, bicycles are allowed there, and my friend fortunately said, "Shauna, on your left, there's a bike coming," because the child didn't tell me, but I go, "Oh, good," As a driver, too, this doesn't have to do with an electric bicycle, but it's the same type of thing. A couple months ago, I was going out on Golden Beach Boulevard onto A1A, and I was going to make a right turn. So when I first pulled up to the stop sign, I looked right, and there was not any cars, any people, anything. There was a lot of traffic coming from the other direction. So, of course, I kept looking and looking, and when I saw the open spot, I thought, good. I started to pull out, and praise God, somebody, not a child, but a man was driving on a regular bicycle against traffic, which is not the proper way to ride a bike. And I'm so thankful. All night I was like, thank God I didn't hit him, because he was right there, and I slammed on my brake and didn't pull out. So as a driver, we have to be very careful. There's already a law in effect for something like that. I think you cannot always try to make and change a law, but I definitely believe with Councilmember Boone about the education of people, and it never hurts to get it out there more. But as far as us doing anything further than that, I just don't think it's necessary or would help the situation.
Okay. Councilmember Dyer.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this was the most popular Christmas present this year. Every kid was wanting one of these, and we saw the numbers improve. And it is difficult because they're quiet. You can't hear them coming up, and they do move pretty quickly. But I also feel like, this is kind of a more of an education, not legislation kind of issue. And, parents need to teach their children to be courteous, because these things are quick and you could get into trouble with them. The state already has statute already in place, and I feel like that's kind of sufficient enough. It just needs to, the drivers need to be more aware, and the parents should probably put a little more emphasis on the responsibility of these e-bikes. But it's just my opinion.
If I gave the impression I was asking about some type of change in codifying this, I've never mentioned that.
Understood.
Oh, okay.
No, I like Mr. Jaffe because he, besides stating his facts, is perhaps a public education campaign.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think the education campaign needs to happen for sure. And it needs to be repeated quite often, just like we do with everything else, related to bicycles or anything else, mopeds.
So
Golf carts.
this school year, what we can do is, with Jen Imparado, our SRO, she can concentrate on trying to educate the kids on this at the school, and our crossing guards as well, making sure they're wearing helmets and things of that nature while they're going to school. And Officer Imparado can kind of concentrate, because she gets a chance to talk to all the kids and deal with some of that, and she can put it out at Ocean Breeze on their Dolphin or whatever they call that, their home paper that they give out weekly, and kind of do routine updates on that. If she can work with the principal to do that, to try to help with some of that education from the school's perspective going out.
Yeah, it would be good. One of the things that this could be problematic for is, on several of these roads, like Osceola Drive and Yuma Drive, we've got the school bike lanes. And I've brought this up before, I think, that if you've got e-bikes and you got kids that are going to and from Ocean Breeze, they're used to going with traffic on the way to school, and then on the way home, it's on the same side of the road. There's not one on each side of the road. So if you've got an e-bike that's going 20 miles an hour against traffic, I mean, there's the potential for problems. I get it. Nothing has really happened so far, but it's one of those things where I think we do need to start looking at And because of, you got the one-wheelers and you got everything that's motorized now, we do need to start looking at what to do with those bike lanes. Because to me, if they're not gonna be on both sides of the road to encourage proper, direction of travel, when kids are on bikes or whatever it might be, I think it's a risk to have it just on the one side of the road. And the other thing is, and you guys know I've been pushing this, for a long, long time, many years, is the connectivity of sidewalks throughout the city and the need to widen sidewalks. It's just not the same as it used to be. It's not just, two people walking down a sidewalk anymore. We're popular with skateboards, walkers, one-wheelers, you name it, e-bikes. And I think there is a need, especially, I'm not talking about every street in the city, that would be hugely expensive, but on our main roadways, Pine Tree Drive, Banana River Drive, maybe Osceola, places like that where they're destination routes. I think that's just one more reason to start looking at little by little, start tackling, installing wider sidewalks. A lot of them are old anyway, and they're getting to the point where they're starting to crack and become problematic. But I think it's something we need to look at.
And I know they're
moving
doing
forward.
some resurfacing of Osceola and that area over there anyway, so I'll get with Todd and we'll see about the bike lanes and
Yeah.
what you talked about.
Okay. All right. So next is public input on this item. I do have a speaker card from John Longmire. If you would come up, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is John Longmire. I live at 211 Mohawk Way. I'm a resident here in Indian Harbor Beach. I'm here because 3 times in the past 2 months, I've almost hit a child on an e-bike. That is correct. There is no requirement for under 16. There is a requirement for helmets. There's also a requirement for helmets, Chief Butler, if I'm not mistaken, for regular bicycles, but we also know that children do not follow those laws as well. I think part of the challenge here, and I don't think it's been discussed, is the relative similarities between electronic bicycles and other forms of travel on our roadways. In particular, low-speed vehicles and mopeds. Low-speed vehicles defined by the state of Florida and regulated between 20 and 25 miles an hour, and you have to have a license. Mopeds cannot go legally faster than 30 miles an hour, and you have to have a license. The difference between a moped that goes 30 miles an hour and an electronic bicycle that goes 30 miles an hour is the type of motor. Now, while we cannot change Florida statutes with regards to definitions of electronic bicycles versus mopeds, and I appreciate the value of education, there's a vast difference between the requirements, licensing requirements, for those kinds of vehicles, mopeds, low-speed vehicles, and electronic bicycles. You can't regulate education or common sense, you're right, but we can in terms of safety and education. The reason that low-speed vehicles and mopeds require a license is because the state requires education of those who perform transportation on those particular vehicles. Those laws do not apply to electronic bicycles. A 13-year-old who rides an electronic bicycle, Florida state law says can't go faster than 20 miles an hour. However, manufacturers make them to go faster than 30, and as far as I know, there is no method by which we refuse import of those electronic bicycles into Florida, and I know they exist. The education piece for driving on our roads does not fall to the parents, but we're suggesting in this case that traffic laws require parental education for those travelers under 16 years of age. The few instances where I've come across children easily going 25 to 30 miles an hour, running through a stop sign, cutting a left turn, slamming on my brakes, I cannot imagine what that would do to a family. I hate to see that happen. So I think probably some solutions, education, right? But I also know that the Florida state statute regarding laws allows municipalities to create their own ordinances, and I think we should look at those significantly, not just for the inconvenience of drivers, it's least of my concerns, but for the safety of our children. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I do not have any other speaker cards for this item. So I'll bring it back to council if anybody has any other comments or input.
I would, again, I would like if perhaps to staff could look at it, or I'd be happy to dig into it myself and look at some type of bicycle rodeos that does the education, and hopefully, and also with the newsletter, we can get the parents to wake up about it. And as far as using the statutes or ordinances in the city, I think what we should do is see what we can accomplish with using education. Chief, do you guys and Officer Garcia, do you guys, if you see a kid obviously speeding on an e-bike or flying down the road without a helmet, do you all actually turn around?
Yeah, we could stop them, talk to them, warn them, educate them, give them a stern talking to. But again, there's, we're not out there with a radar gun. And,
Sure.
but like this gentleman said, I think each city can also adopt their own ordinances, and that would govern the use of these bikes. I think is good. But maybe also too, maybe we need to get our legal advisor involved in when it comes to certain types of laws and stuff when it comes to that. And so again, what's the alternative? You don't want them on the sidewalk, right? Where are they going to ride? On the road? I wouldn't want my kid on the road riding a bike in traffic.
I'd be fine with him on the sidewalk, but
Yeah.
it's the speed and it's
Right,
not.
yeah, I understand, yeah. Especially if they're going 20, 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there's
Or
pedestrians.
notifying that they're coming up on a
Yeah.
walker.
But again, I think that the education campaign, I think that's a good start. And like Chief said, with the school, get the school resource officer to start talking to the children and the teachers and the parents, and I think that's a good start.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, I don't think it's time just yet to apply stricter regulations. It's something we need to look into, however. I do think that it would be a good idea to look into see what, if any other cities in the state are implementing any stricter standards than what the state statute calls for, just to get a picture of what folks are doing, what different cities are doing, if anything. I don't know if anybody's doing anything with that or not, but it would be good to see what they're doing, and and if we find some, maybe reach out to them and see how the enforcement is from you guys' standpoint. What are you guys looking at for enforcement, and how realistic is it to really enforce the more restrictive standards? I'm not sure I want to go that way with it in terms of actually implementing something just yet, but again, we need to know who is implementing rules other than potentially us doing so, just to get a feel for it and how problematic it is in other areas as well. I mean, we're not as populated as some of these other areas, like Jacksonville Beach. They're everywhere up there. So I would imagine their numbers are significantly higher in terms of accidents from e-bikes. But just because we're smaller doesn't mean we should not think about it and do some due diligence on that and see what other cities are doing. And no, I'm not doing this to follow suit with, we shouldn't implement rules just because another city does it, but I think it'll paint a better picture as to how, if there's a significant problem, and just how big that problem might be.
Key Biscayne did implement extra, but theirs wasn't about, oddly enough, it wasn't about the speed or notification on the sidewalk when you're approaching somebody. It was about where they are allowed to park and particular areas of the city that they cannot be on. So, but they were still on sidewalks.
Okay.
I got a question for. Oh, go ahead. After you.
I agree with everything you said, Mayor. we need to have an ongoing education process, no doubt about it. The sidewalks, we need to go ahead and expand whatever sidewalks we can expand. We need to look at the streets and make them, accommodate them for bicycles when we have lanes on both sides, like you said, just not one side. And it needs to be an ongoing education process, and we need to, hit it and keep on hitting it, so we don't have situations like Mr. Horschel, who came in here, tell us how he lost, a friend with a, bicycle accident, that type of thing. So, I agree with you. It's a job well taken.
Yes, I'd like just to say that you made a very good comment about how you have to have a license to do these motorized vehicles. But going back to, they're following the same rules as the bicycles. We've all seen those bicyclists that run the 10 speeds in the races, and they're going pretty fast too. They're whizzing along. I wanted to say that that was a very good point about that. And who knows, maybe there may be a state law change in the future, like they just changed this on us. But thank you for that.
Just want to say thank you for coming out and speaking. And also, is it the same child that you said repeatedly 3 times? Different children, random children? Did,
Sometimes they're coming wrong way down the street, especially on Cheyenne. They do that a lot, but it's definitely.
so do you recognize a child like in the neighborhood, or like I said, reach out to the parents? Because I know that's the best thing about this city is the community feel, and everybody knows everybody's kids. So I would just, like I said, most of you guys, I'm sure, are aware of my children. If you see them doing stuff like that, I'd encourage them to reach out and communicate first and try to work that angle. But
I do want to say one more thing. You done, Adam? I do think that we need to go ahead and just, not that we're going to follow suit, but check and see what Satellite Beach is doing and Melbourne Beach and in the Atlantic, just like we did on Beach Parking. They're our neighbors. We'll have people travel back and forth, that type of thing, especially Indian Harbor, Satellite Beach. That type of thing, and kind of check out and see what they have going on.
Okay. All right. If there is nothing further, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Gerton, second by Councilmember Hume. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, and we are adjourned.
Good job, Mayor.